Not glitching on your end. I keep kind of pausing and glitching on this end. Welcome to day 2 of Myrrh essential oil in the Bible. Today we're going to be talking about myrrh in the life of Joseph. Good morning. My name is Angela Weber. I am an independent distributor with Young Living Essential Oils. I have a passion for taking big concepts and breaking them down into bite-sized, easy to understand bits and pieces. And I also have a passion for connecting people with the information that they need in order to make health and wellness choices, to make decisions to meet their family's health and wellness goals. So today we are talking about myrrh in the life of Joseph, and I apologize in advance. I am going to be referring, my eyes are going to be going left to the left and the right to look at my notes. I just don't want to miss or forget anything, so I apologize in advance for that. Okay, so let's get going. We're going to talk about myrrh in the life of Joseph, and we're gonna this is where we see the first mention of myrrh in the Bible. It's in the book of Genesis, chapter 37. I love the story of Joseph. It tells tells the story of God's ability to redeem our situation. He can turn what seems is for destruction and despair into good. And even whenever we don't necessarily see it, God is working all things together in our lives. So we're going to pick up, I'm not going to tell the entire story with Joseph, but just know that his brothers hate him, and it is not without good reason. So I encourage you to go and read for yourself and find out why his brothers are so jealous and hate him so much. Joseph's brothers hate him so much that they have ripped off a colorful robe that was given from his father. That's not the only reason that they are hateful and jealous towards him. And they throw him into a dry cistern. And now, believe it or not, after this, they're able to sit down and enjoy a meal with knowing their brother is basically at the bottom of a dry well. And when they do that, they notice that there is a caravan of Ishmaelites passing by. Where they were at and where they were having their meal was actually on a trade route. So Genesis 37:25 in the NIV version says, as they sat down to eat their meal, they looked up and saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead. Their camels were loaded with spices, balm, and myrrh, and they were on their way to take them down to Egypt. Now, Gilead, these Ishmaelites were from Gilead, and Gilead is also known as Gad, and it's at the north of the Dead Sea. Joseph lived in Canaan, so it would have been further south than that, and then to the southwest would have been Egypt. So these Ishmaelites could have been passing from Gilead through Canaan on their way to Egypt. Now, it mentions myrrh in this verse, but it also mentions balm, and the balm is the balm of Gilead. So if you would like to learn more about the balm of Gilead, I encourage you to go to the Seed to Seal Facebook page. And there, Dr. Cole Woolley, he's one of the scientists that I mentioned in my 3 essential oil scientists to follow blog post. So Dr. Woolley, he actually visited our Young Living Cooperative Farm in Israel back in March of 2015. And he has many posts about the balm of Gilead. If you just go to the Seed to Seal Facebook page and up in the little search box, put in balm, you're going to see all the information. So again, that's the Seed to Seal Facebook page. And I encourage you just to follow that anyway. It has good information. Okay, so Joseph's brothers hate him. They decide, instead of leaving him in the well, let's sell him to the Ishmaelites as a slave. So he goes from being the favorite child to being a slave in Egypt. But God is with him, and God blesses him, and he rises to a place of power and to be in charge in Egypt. Then a famine comes over the world, and Joseph's father, Jacob, also called Israel, hears that there's grain in Egypt, and there is grain in Egypt. And the reason that there is grain is because Joseph was wise enough to save up and store grain in preparation for the famine. So Jacob sends Joseph's brothers, all except for the baby. He's not really a baby, but the baby brother, Benjamin. He sends all of the other brothers down to Egypt to buy grain. And Joseph at this time, he's governor over the land, and he is actually the person in charge of selling the grain to the people. Now, when his brothers come to buy grain, he recognizes him, but he doesn't reveal who he is. Instead, he accuses them of being spies. He says, oh, you're just here to find, weakness in our land. And they say, no, we're brothers. Like, ask us about our family. Oh, wait, he does ask them about their family. I don't know if they asked him to ask him. So he asked about their family, and he's like, yep, this is my family. And he decides to make a deal with them. And he says, okay, all of you but one of your brothers, go back and go get your youngest brother that you told me about that you didn't bring, and bring him here so that I know that you are honest men and that you're not spies. Now, Joseph was probably eager to see this younger brother. This younger brother, Benjamin, was the only full-blooded brother. You see, back then, men would have multiple wives. So Jacob had sons with another woman, but he also had sons with his wife Rachel, whom he had worked, hi Laura, welcome, whom he had worked for her father for 14 years in order to marry her. So Joseph and Benjamin were both sons of Rachel. Okay, so let me make sure I have all this. Yes, okay, so Joseph gives them grain for their journey back home to go get their brother Benjamin. Now, they had paid for their grain in silver, but what Joseph does is he secretly has the silver that they had paid for their grain put back inside their grain sacks, and they don't know about this. So all of the brothers, except for Simeon, they return to Joseph's father, and they ask for the youngest brother Benjamin to go back with them. Well, their father's not really thrilled about this idea, but finally he says, fine, we need the grain, take Benjamin. Now, he knows that when they got there, they had the silver that they had taken. Jacob knows that when his sons get home, they still have the silver they were supposed to use to pay for their grain. And so they don't know if it's a mistake. They don't really know why that happened. So he really wants to find favor. Not only does he want grain, but because of this silver question, he really wants to find favor in the eyes of Joseph. So he decides to send some gifts along with his sons. So what do you think he's going to want to send? He's going to want to send the best thing that he can find along with them. So Genesis 43:11 says this, then their father Israel said to them, if it must be, then do this. Put some of the best products of the land in your bags and take them down to the man as a gift. A little balm of Gilead, a little honey, some spices and myrrh, some pistachio nuts and almonds. Take double the amount of silver with you, for you must return the silver that was put back in the mouths of your sacks. Perhaps it was a mistake. Take your brother also and go back to the man at once. Okay, so Jacob wants his sons to find favor in the eyes of Joseph. He gives them the best products of the land. He gives them some balm, that balm of Gilead, honey, spices, pistachios, almonds, and myrrh. So that's our second time that we see myrrh in the life of Joseph. So we know that myrrh was among the best gifts that they had to offer from Canaan. How fortunate we are that Young Living brings to us pure, unadulterated, undiluted myrrh. We are able to enjoy the same myrrh oil that Jacob's sons took to Joseph in Egypt. I'm not going to give away the rest of the story. I'm not going to tell you how it turns out, but trust me, you're going to want to read what happens to Joseph to find out how things turned out for him and his brother. Okay, so that is myrrh in the life of Joseph. Tomorrow we're going to be visiting Queen Esther, and we're going to learn about myrrh and the life of Esther. So be sure to tune in. And again, if you have any friends that you think would be interested in learning alongside us about myrrh, essential oil in the Bible, you're welcome to invite them to this group. Okay.